Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the entire state of Texas, but specifically now, good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, all those nooks and crannies where our 100,000 watt transmitter permeates into the receivers, the FM receivers of those who still get their stuff through FM signals. And of course, good morning to the rest of the world who listens to us via the internet and its magic that gets into every single zip code in the world, every single zone, every single whatever it is. Anyway, we are going to have a great show. We're going to have an intense show today, but we'll get started on that later on. Beforehand, I must go to our two geniuses, the two people that make this thing happen in the studio in Caroline. Well, I should say at Caroline. How are my folks?
Jack, have you seen anybody like that around here?
No, I think I saw a big wood roach, though.
Well, that's probably Hey, Mr. Roach, get in here. He's talking to you. Well, I know that you're tired this morning because you were up late, and so was I.
Yes.
The presidential debate number one. And I must say that it was an interesting show. I felt like that... And I said this last time when I called in on the show, I felt like that Biden probably could have done a little better as far as presence goes. But you've got to remember, Biden's running the country. He doesn't have time for this nonsense to stand up there and defend himself on his policies because his policies have been much better than the former president. And we're going to do, I have to do U-Talk this morning, which, I don't really look forward to ever because I just don't want to do it.
But you're so good at it.
But I'm a reluctant talk show host because I really don't like to do talk shows.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway.
Beforehand, though, let me just tell you, I just don't understand when you say that because, again, you're so good at it. All right, continue, brother.
Well, I was going to tell you that we're going to have a fact-checking session on U-Talk this morning about last night's debate. I was looking up some things this morning, and when I got up, and the Associated Press probably put it best. They've got the statement, they've got the response, and they've got the explanation as to where the distortions are. The misrepresentation of what should have been fact was not. So we're going to go through that thing with a fine-tooth comb, as we probably will do here. And I would just want to congratulate and say thank you to Brian for calling in last night. I know we were on our HD2 channel, which a lot of people can't find it or they think it's obscure. They don't have an HD radio. But Brian found us, called in the last, 10 minutes of the show?
Yeah, he did.
And he gave us some pretty good insights. Brian is he's a very intelligent man. Let us not think that he isn't. There's a lot of Kool-Aid that's gone down that chute, but then again, he has his right to express himself. We provide the platform for him to express himself and to anyone else too. So, Brian, if you're listening in, we're looking forward to you calling in this morning. Jack, what you got?
Well, this morning, excuse me, this morning, Tag called a little early, and he gave me a term, and it's a form of gaslighting that Trump used in the debate. It's called Gisgalop, Gisgalop. And it's a form of gaslighting that he said Trump was using last night, and it's a lot of rapid fire BS, that trash talk that he does. So, that was the technique he used, and, y'all can Google that and look it up, So, that's what Tag gave me this morning. Okay, I'll go ahead and do my little piece here.
Well, it's good to know that Tag is listening.
Yeah,
Tag,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in, as always.
Yeah. Okay, the people must push back on the corporate oligarchs and their overpaid CEOs. The people have to stop these vampires from sinking their fangs into the necks of the working class, sending our young men and women to die in wars for their profit. The deaths of the innocent people they call collateral damage. War is always waged on the innocent. Humanity must stop these wars of conquest and profit, period.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Can I get an amen from my brother Jack?
Can I get an amen?
Put your hand on the radio and be healed.
Yes.
Yeah, well, guess what, folks? That was the one and only Jacques Van Beber. Don't know if you guys know yet, but I don't see the call screener yet. Just a matter of info there. And
yeah, we got to push a few buttons to make that happen.
But let me just say, last night I saw problems from the time that Biden walked out, and that was before he even opened his mouth. And the two of these guys faced each other, and Trump did a certain kind of while Biden spoke. If I saw the entrance correctly, it seems like Trump looked at him with some evil eyes and turned to the podium and just stood up. He was very unprofessional, but that's who he is.
He was just being Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a brash, mannerless pig, and he was just being himself. Exactly.
I agree wholeheartedly. But and when Howard, you speak about there's so much more that the president is doing as well. That is so right. There's so much that he's out there doing, and debates. What debate? I have all these other things that we have to be doing. But also he called the debate, and he called it early. And actually, I think I'm glad that he called it early. I don't know what has to be done. I don't know if any of you have been watching Brother Joe Scarborough on the TV right now, who has turned from a very conservative Republican to a country saving President Biden sycophant. And I say that sycophant not in a negative term in this case, but in a positive term, that he tries to find every good out of everything the president does. And he was unable to, look, the thing about it is Donald Trump lied from the time it started. He created, he invented, he lied about the record, he lied about his record, he lied about everything. But you have to be able to stand up to that. So I wanted to be measured in my response, and so I wrote the blog, something that I always call like the blog of the day or whatever, responding to this. And I instead of me just pontificating on this one, I'm going to read it, but we got a call already from Tag, and I want to hear from Tag before I go ahead and read this blog that I wrote last night. So let's bring Brother Tag into the program. Brother Tag, how are you doing, sir?
Great, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Well, my wife reads Heather Cox Richardson a lot. You probably heard of her.
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah. She's the one who came up with this term, the Gish Gallop, which I'd never heard of, but it's just fascinating because now I thoroughly understand what the Republicans have been doing to us for so long. We're getting gaslit constantly by the Republicans, one thing right after another. Trump put a fine point on it last night, because 2 hours, every time his 2 minutes came up, or 1 minute, he was gaslighting us. And I don't personally, I don't like being gaslit. I don't think anybody does once they understand how people control each other by gaslighting them. And I started thinking about it, all the different times that we're being gaslit by all these different people. And people need to grow a spine and stand up and say, I'm not gonna put up with being gaslit anymore. Not by a Republican Party, not by Netanyahu, Putin. Nobody's going to gaslight me, because these people are all liars. And we need to put our foot down and say, we are not going to be manipulated by the Gish Gallop anymore. This constant lying about everything. And all of a sudden, you're wondering if you really think straight when people are being killed. And it's like, oh, well, is this for good reason or not? No, it's not for good reason. When Netanyahu's killing people, there's no good reason for it, and he just uses the nonstop Gish Gallop to try to convince you that it's all right to kill people and come to it. I had to get that off my chest.
Hey, Tag, I can't agree with you more. We got 2 more calls, but let me ask everybody to hold. I really want to read this that I did. It's not a very long blog, but I kind of want folks to see where I'm going. And I'd like the people to then comment on this as well, because I think we are at what many would call an inflection point as far as what are we going to do and how we're going to move to save our country. So when I got off the line with the show last night, good morning, Lizard Queen. I was thinking, what headline do I give this post? And the headline I gave was Debate Disaster. The Democratic Party has a couple of weeks to decide. Subtitle. Well, I'll leave the subtitle because I also used it in a commentary. I'm going to read the blog, and I wrote the following. I could not maintain my credibility if I did not admit that Joe Biden was a disaster in the debate with Donald Trump. Let's be clear. Biden is a much better president than Trump by orders of magnitude. Unfortunately, Biden was unable to articulate that. Trump was animated with his lies, and Biden failed to refute them. Biden likely got more progressive policies passed and implemented than any other Democratic president. He restored the respect that many other countries had lost in America. He was the first president to stand solidly with unions and even walked the picket line. While I disagree entirely with his stance on Gaza, I wanted him re-elected. If he continues to support Netanyahu's action, I can fight him along with my progressive brothers and sisters. Politics is not a fair sport. While I am sure that Biden has the intellect and mental acuity to complete another 4-year term in much better shape than our next oldest president, Ronald Reagan, the country may not want to risk it. The CNN flash poll from the debate watchers is a warning. Right after the poll, CNN did something called a flash poll, where they take a look at how people reacted to what they saw. And of course, the spinning begins right after the debate that's going to either enhance or detract on performances. In this case, we can understand what Republicans will do with a whole lot of clips from that debate where, look, I do a lot of video processing. I try to make sure that the video processing that I do reflects, since I got to cut it short, makes it reflect the narrative that was really there. I don't want to change the narrative, but that's not what's going to be done with the clips from that debate, and we all know it. Immediately after the debate, they asked the question, confidence in candidates' ability to lead the country. And the 3 terms were a lot, some, and none. Again, these are polls, and they're not necessarily correct in the actual numbers, but in trends, you can look at polls. A lot of the confidence in the candidates, a lot. 14% for Biden, 36% for Trump. Some confidence, 29% for Biden, 20% for Trump. None, in other words, no confidence at all. 57% for Biden, 44% for Trump. First of all, that's a terrible number for both, but that Trump took such a lead after that in this flash poll. It is a flash poll. Now, I believe many of Biden's poor numbers on the economy, on the border, and other issues have a genesis in his age and the problems that come with age. In other words, many are projecting his age on their discontent for just about every issue. Again, it may not be fair, but that is politics. That is politics. The Democratic Party will have to ask itself whether Biden can recover from this debate disaster when the Republicans have already started spinning it as a narrative confirmed. I don't have the answer. The following three flash polls from CNN must give us pause. And the first one, the favorable view of the candidate. Before the debate, Biden 37%, Trump 40%. This is of the people that they're doing this flash polls of. After the debate, Biden drops 7 points to 31%, and Trump jumps 3% to 43%. Not stellar numbers for either one, but Trump substantially better. And we're talking about a convicted felon. We're talking about a porn star, a person who had sex with a porn star as his wife was pregnant with his child. And these are the numbers. Who better address concerns about the ability to handle the presidency? Trump, 48%, not stellar numbers. Biden, 23%. Neither, 22%. Even if you add the neither and Biden's number, it doesn't amount to Trump's numbers. And these are because these are done after the debate. After the debate, would you consider voting for Donald Trump for which candidate? They would only vote for Donald Trump, 48%. They would only vote for Biden, 40%. They would vote for either, 2%, and neither, 11%. Now, polls can change. I repeat, polls can change. There's no doubt about that. And polls are not always accurate. Americans know that Trump is a thug and a felon, yet many would vote for Trump. Can Biden overcome this? I have been writing about a Democratic landslide for several months, from the White House to the Senate to the state legislature to the municipalities. Republicans laid the path with their draconian policies, from book bans to taking any woman's right to choose, to choosing to force school vouchers, to mandating teaching the Bible in schools, and much more. All these policies, draconian they are, it laid the path for a Democratic landslide, because that's not where the American people are. While all elections are local, if too many lose confidence in the party's titular leader, that could affect down ballot races federally and locally. While I don't have an answer, the Democratic Party leadership must find one. While many progressives have been holding their ire in choices made to maintain unity, this debacle should not have been a shock. As a progressive, I was hoping for a stellar performance that deep inside I knew was not there. The party, in my humble opinion, has 2 weeks to objectively assess the situation and determine if Biden has a chance. And if he doesn't, it is incumbent on them to do the patriotic thing A Donald Trump election is the instantiation of Project 2025, the birth of the FSA, the fascist states of America. End of my post that I did at 1 something this morning. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump before we move on to our brother in the studio. And then I have a very sad note to talk about before we continue this discussion. Let's go ahead and get to Brother Howard.
Yeah, just one thing that I wanted to bring back as a history lesson to 1960 when JFK and Richard Nixon debated each other. There were two mediums at that time covering it, as there was last night, television and radio. The radio listeners said that Nixon won the debate. The television listeners said that Kennedy won the debate. So Nixon looked haggard. He looked tired. He was unable to focus clearly on TV because he had been out campaigning, and the man was actually ill at that particular time. Kennedy had been on a vacation. He was rested up, looked good. So, but beware, folks. Donald Trump looked good last night. He did. I'll give him that credit. But he's a snake oil salesman, a used car salesman, a convicted felon. Yeah, of course he's going to look like a con man. The honest man was standing there on the stage, not looking so well, kind of fumbling a little bit. That's real. What you were seeing on the former president, you were seeing a car salesman, a slick car salesman. Oh, yeah, it'll run for 5,000 years. No, what you were seeing in Joe Biden last night was a real man, was a real person who wants to help the country. What you were seeing on the country, who has helped the country. What you were seeing on the other side of the stage was a snake oil salesman. So who do you think is going to put the more polish, the more slickness when you're selling something that's not going to work? And Donald Trump's policies are not going to work. That's it. They're not going to work for you. They're not going to work for the middle income, the upper middle income, lower middle income, the poor. They're not going to work for you. They're only going to work for the ultra wealthy. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, my brother Howard. Now, I want to bring in Miss Gwen. First of all, we have to report a sad story in our KPFT community. Our local board member and Pacifica National Board member, Richard Ussel, died this week. Brother Ussel was a friend of mine as well. We served together on the LSB, the KPFT local station board, and we served together on the Pacifica Network National Board. I remember as I went to Washington, D.C. and spent 9 months with my daughter, feeling sort of excommunicated from KPFT, even as I did this show from D.C., one of the people that kept me attached to the station was Mr. Ussel. I remember when we were building out the Caroline studio, while all the machinations were going on in Houston and I am in DC going through the pains of taking care of my daughter, that he would send me blueprints of what was being done at the studio and keeping me up to date of what was being done on the studio. So again, it has been a terrible, terrible feeling to have just suddenly lost our good friend and leader here at KPFT this week. And on the phone, we have Gwen, who is Richard's niece. Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. It's early.
Yes, it is.
But I wanted to come on just to thank you and all of the KPFT community. Our family is so grateful for KPFT, the family. It is a family. It was a family for Richard. He was incredibly devoted to KPFT, to Pacifica, to the progressive cause, right? I'm listening to the interpretations of the debate, he would have been on our text chain late into the night, sharing information with us, sharing his thoughts. And he's been like that for decades. I know that he has served on, like you said, on the local board, on the Pacifica board. You and I talked about, the helping with the build out of the Caroline studio, helping with fundraisers. He was always trying to figure out how he could be a service, right? Because he understood the importance of KPFT in the community. Just to share for those who don't know, he was also a Vietnam veteran. He was an architect. He was an uncle. He was a brother. He was a family member. But his service to, and he was a progressive warrior. He's been like doing the real thing. He went over to after Rita to East Texas to help with the cleanup. He's gone, to other states to help with voter organization. He ran for county commissioner in Hempstead, for goodness sake, in Waller County, trying to right the segregation that had been so long accepted in the way things were. He didn't just talk about it, he did it. But he understood that KPFT, keeping it on air, keeping it thriving, was one of the most important things that we could do in our Houston community. And so I just wanted to thank you all for everything you've meant to him, for the family you have been to him. We all have our birth family, but we also have our chosen family. And you and so many others in the KPFT family were that for him. So we want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gwen, for coming on and giving us that tribute to your uncle. Well deserved. And again, I want to give you, on behalf of Politics Done Right, on behalf of KPFT, on behalf of all of us, our most sincere condolences.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Have a wonderful rest of your day. And please keep us informed as far as what's going on, okay?
I will. Okay.
Thank you. All right, folks, that was Gwen's Richard's niece, a big loss for KPFT. But I know Richard, if Richard was here talking about this, he can get animated sometimes when we're talking about these types of issues. Now, I'm going to jump the stack a bit here and I want to hear from Moses first. So let's go to Moses. And I'm coming to all of you that are on hold. It's a special day. Just hang with me here, okay? Let's go to Moses. Come on in, Moses.
Okay. Good morning, my friend. I'll go straight.
Good morning.
What the debate exposed is the inordinate liar that Mr. Trump is and continues to be. Mr. Biden was brave enough, having had to take the opportunity to show Americans, despite the fact that he had a cold, to show Americans the contrast between his administration and that under the threat of a Trump demolition derby. When Mr. Trump continued to say that I didn't do nothing in January 6th, Americans don't take that knee-jerk effect just because Mr. Biden was not feeling well. You have eyes to see, you have ears to hear, you have seen, and you have heard up to this day that Mr. Trump is not coming to make America great again. He is coming to destroy, to plunder with impunity. The judgment is yours, but I always say the battle belongs to God.
Thank you very much, Moses. Thank you very much for your commentary, Moses. Let's go to Art. Come on in, Art.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. So my assessment is that it was a bunch of lies, mostly from Trump, but also from Biden. Biden it was exposed. Everyone watched the same show. We can't, deny it anymore, whether he was juiced up or not. Not my, platform to say, but he definitely has, something going on. And I agree. The DNC should step up and find a replacement. It would look very embarrassing if he's back in there for 4 more years and he's in negotiations and he freezes up, or he tries to deal with Gaza, whatever else, abortion, and he, stumbles across his words. And that's scary because that means he's not going to be making decisions. It's going to be his counterparts that we don't see. He'll be propped up. Trump, wow, never heard so many lies in 90 minutes. That dude lied so much. So I will admit, and this was coming, I watched RFK's real debate, and he was the only one that actually answered the questions. I didn't agree with everything, but most of it I did. At least he answered it. And when he had when he had the right time, when they gave him exactly 2 minutes, and then John Stossel, former ABC correspondent, cut him off right at 2 minutes. So it was pretty fair. When I started watching, it was at 200,000 views watching. It grew almost to 5.5 million. You can fact check that, but I think it was 5.5 that were watching live. So the numbers were going up. And as the debate ended, it went up even further. Went on late because he had to respond to each question. It was a little weird. They're going to make fun. He was upset. He had to get in there and like a little kid because he didn't get his way. But he did answer the question, bottom line.
Thank you very much, Art. Art,
yes, sir.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day, my brother. All right, let's go to Harry. Okay, there you go. You're on now, Harry.
Okay. I listened in on NPR last night. I don't think Joe Biden's delivery was real well. I'm sorry for the KPFT loss with Richard Zell, and I'm glad his niece came on to talk about that. Thanks for giving us that info, Egberto. I think, Art's right. Trump did gaslight, and Tag's right with that word that he came up with. He gaslighted. He lied about most of the stuff. I think NPR, I remember they pointed out that one of the things that Joe Biden didn't do is with the Dobbs decision, with the abortion, he didn't tie Trump in on that. When he talked about abortion, he did stumble over some of his words, but he's feeling sick and lately. And Howard was correct. He's running the country. He wasn't at his best last night. That's a concern for most people who want to vote for him. I'm still doing my protest vote, as you know. I'm going to be voting for Dr. West. And I was listening on the middle last night. There are some people who are going to just go ahead and vote third party because they don't like either candidate. And then the other thing with the economy, I think Biden, for the most part, answered the questions. And with the economy, when he was talking about when Trump was talking about regulation, well, I seem to remember when Trump did that to loosen regulations on the mid-sized banks, that Silicon Valley Bank smashed. And how was that with loosening and doing deregulation? How was that creating jobs? That just all that did was people they did get reimbursed, but they lost. They had to get reimbursed by the FDIC because the banks smashed. So, Trump didn't do us a lot of good there before he left office. And he went on and talked about how we had the greatest economy and all that. And Biden pointed out the economy was flat on its back. And as you talked about on this show a lot, it's corporate greed. When interest rates started going up, and these companies started doing pricing power and charging what they want to charge. And we did have some supply chain issues, but a lot of it is just corporate greed. And as Jack talked about at the beginning, with the oligarchs ruining the American employee.
Harry, you nailed it, Harry. Let's thank you very much, my dear brother. I need to jump to Bard now. Getty, I want everybody to get a chance to express themselves. Thank you very much, my brother. Let's go to Bard. Come on in, Bard.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Good. Howard, the used car salesman is the Democrat Party, and the used car is Joe Biden. This was a setup. Biden called for this debate a month ago for this reason. He knew he was not the man, or he was being led down this path. So who's going to replace him? I guess it's Gavin Newsom. The party threw Biden under the bus last night, and they're throwing him under the bus even more today. Just evidence from your show. So Are you going to vote for Gavin Newsom?
Okay, let me back up. I will never throw. Let me just answer you, Bart. I want to be clear. I was giving everybody a chance to talk without me interrupting, but I just want to say I did not throw Brother Biden under the bus. I am a realist. I think Biden saved the country. Absolutely no doubt about that. I also know that the policies and I said it in the blog that I wrote immediately so that my thoughts were straight. I also said that what he did for the progressive movement was more so than any other Democratic president, and I'm putting it in the league of Roosevelt. And actually, it was better than Roosevelt because even with the policies Roosevelt passed, many of those policies didn't apply to all Americans, if you understand what I mean, while Biden's policies did. So let's be clear here, my brother. I did not throw the president under the bus. Do I think President Biden can do another 4 years? Not actively, but as far as his intellect and his mental acuity, absolutely so. Unfortunately, it's not just myself and Howard who are voting. There are people that simply don't look at certain realities that are voting as well. And therefore, we have to take a serious look at it. But Bart, thank you very much for making your commentary. I need to move on to Brother Patrick. Let's go, Patrick.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, brother. Good morning, Patrick. How are you doing this morning?
Doing fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. We should expect somebody that was in the entertainment field for 2 decades and trained as an actor to do a little bit better on a debate, maybe.
True.
And so there's that to consider. You hear me bring up nuclear weapons on this program quite a few times, and I think that I'm implying too much. I want to explain to people that we're voting for somebody that has 6 minutes to make a decision on whether or not to destroy the world. The United States policy on nuclear weapons is called fire on warning. And what that is if we have one satellite, and these are the most sophisticated satellites that we have, more sophisticated than GPS or anything. If we have one satellite that senses a silo opening and sees the exhaust, whoever we vote in has 6 minutes to decide whether or not to destroy the world. And what I see in Trump, and people can argue this if they like, but I see somebody that is reactionary and somebody that's vindictive. We've already had several close calls. One of them was a flock of geese, I believe. And
yes,
I think that if the trigger warning was a flock of geese during Trump, we would no longer be here.
I'm sorry, Patrick. Go ahead, please.
No, I don't mind you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. Donald Trump is, as far as putting Donald Trump in the presidency, that would be a grave mistake. How to prevent Donald Trump from getting into the presidency, in my humble opinion, and I'm speaking not a host, but as an individual right now, that is the issue. And that's where I said the Democratic Party has 2 weeks to figure it out, whether it's by using polling, doing calculated analyses, etc., to determine what is the best path going forward. Whether, and I say that as honestly as I can, as not colored eyes, but just wide open eyes, based on the maturity of the country, based on the mentality of the country, based on a country that had found that even though he has never gotten a popular vote sufficiently, even with Biden's 7 million vote advantage in 2020, remember, this man was 40,000 votes away from being elected president. This country was designed that you can have minority rule and you can have fascist rule. We have been lucky over from its inception, that we didn't get a crackpot like Trump before. But we may not be if we don't make the right decisions. Patrick, I got to go to Johnny. Do you want to say anything real quick?
On the same topic, people need to understand that he uses nuclear weapon threat as a casual warning, which pushes all other leaders in the world in that direction. And if we ever did use a tactical nuke, that would nullify most of the treaties that we have.
Yes, it does.
They are dependent on using nuclear weapons. And that would start World War III, even with a quote-unquote small bomb that would be larger
I
than
got it.
European.
Right. Thank you very much for that, my brother Patrick. Let's go to Brother Johnny, Mayor of Politics Done Right. Good morning, Mayor. How are you doing?
My condolences to you and the folks at KPFT who were friends with your colleague and associate.
Richard Ussel. Thank you.
Yeah, I did not know him personally, but I appreciated the kind words his niece gave and what you said, so that helps. And if we go on the website, I trust KPFT website would have a biography maybe and a photograph of him so we can relate.
It'll all be there. Yes.
So, with regards to the disaster that was a so-called debate last night on national TV, I'm not surprised. My opinion has not changed. And the tragic irony, being someone who has experience with dealing with seniors in both in institutional settings and outside these institutional settings, I could understand most of what Joe Biden said. Joe Biden was off his game last night, and that happens. Unfortunate that it had happened the time that he needed to be on his game. I get the sense that he was suffering from a sore throat, hoarse, maybe from talking too much prior to, and that's something that his management team should have been looking out for. That being said, that doesn't change the fact that Joe Biden had more than a half a dozen times this deer in the headlights look when he kept his mouth open looking at Donald Trump while Trump was making a point, which, by the way, was not fact-checked. So, because you have a consummate liar like Donald Trump, who doesn't suffer any fact-checking in real time, guess what? He comes across with credibility for the people who worship and adore him. I guarantee you that hardly any of those people who voted for Trump twice already and who will vote for him again, I seriously doubt that any of those people went to CNN.com and looked at their website to look for fact-checking in real time while watching the debate. I wasn't going to do it. I don't have to because I know he's a liar. But They don't know he's a liar. The irony is they watch the whole thing and they think he did great. So what's the takeaway here? The takeaway here is the Democratic Party has once again screwed up on purpose. It's not incompetence. It's on purpose. Remember what Hillary Clinton said a few weeks ago on national TV? She said, get over it to people like me. She and the Democratic Party leaders, they will not heal, Egberto. And where does that leave people like you and me in terms of messaging to our fellow time travelers? Where does that leave us come January? What's going to happen? One thing I know, we'll have to take to the streets regardless of who's in the White House come January.
Brother, we got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And thank you, Johnny, Mayor of Politics Done Right. Appreciate your commentary, sir. All right, I want to give everybody a chance to say their piece. Lynette, line 4. Come on in, Lynette.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Let me just kind of quickly say this. I want to thank Brother Patrick for pointing out that Trump is very reactive, and so that we need to vote somebody that's proactive, because when they asked the question about child care, Trump immediately did not answer the question at all. His point was to distract Biden, and so he almost did that, but Biden at least did come back to say something about the child care. And so my other point is a vote for, if people do not vote, they're voting for Trump, somebody that's reactive, and at least President Biden is very proactive. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so kindly, Lynette. All right, let's go to Augie. Augie, come on in.
Good morning. Yeah, I saw that debate last night, but people don't like what they saw and heard. But I saw things differently. I saw what Biden has done, and action speaks louder than words. And I was thinking about this yesterday when Harry and Johnny said they're going to vote third party. Well, it's not like it was before, when Ross Perot ran as third party candidate. The Republican Democratic candidates at that time, they were saying this is a different situation for the third party voters. We got a crazy man on one side, and then we got Biden. Biden is listening to his advisors. He's listening acting on it. His actions should speak louder than his words. And I think that should carry the day. We had a president once who had dementia his last year in presidency, and he didn't run the country. His wife did, Nancy Reagan. Ronald Reagan had dementia his last year, and the Republican politicians were eager to grab control, but Nancy wouldn't do that. So action speaks louder than words, and what he's done has been great for the country, like you said. And he will listen to advisors, and it's his old age, and I heard he had a cold too. People when don't like it when it doesn't respond. Well, people are different. Not everybody's going to act like you expect them to.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, a lot of people that keeps coming. I want to let you finish, but can you wrap her up so I can get some more people in? Thank you, my brother.
It's between light and dark is what we're voting for nowadays, and everybody's got to be involved. You can't not vote or vote for a third-party candidate. We got a light and dark here that we're looking at. But thanks a lot for what you do there. Bye.
Thank you, my brother. It's amazing because this subject is really hot this morning. We have right now at 621 people online listening to what you guys have to say. And we're not even talking airwaves right now, just online. 621. Let's go to Ray from 3rd Ward. My brother Ray, talk to me. Well, we're up to 743. Great. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Brother Egberto. I just want to first say condolences to yourself and the KPFT staff there. I know anybody that, you speak highly of must have been a good man. So I'm just going to go with that. And secondly, I wanted to say, I did watch the debate last night, and, I got to say, Biden looked old, I could tell he was probably sick. Hearing him labor for breath. The thing about Trump is, I got to give him credit. He's been practicing. He's really became a polished politician, if you will. And if I take a step further, in order to be able to beat Trump, on his stage, which the mic is his stage. He's a performer. He loves this ish, and it's almost like watching him on stage next to Biden. It brings me back to when he had a storyline angle in the WWE, and he had to battle Vince McMahon on the mic. You have to be able to beat him on the mic for, people like me, it hasn't changed my mind like Johnny, but you got to meet this man where he is. And where he is you got to be able to talk. And Biden couldn't talk, he was on
and that's the thing. I mean, the way that what happens is in that debate, Biden gave Trump a chance to take a foothold. You see, a liar, you can stop a liar if right when he tells the first lie, you tell a truth that everybody knows, right? And you can put them aback. You can put them on your back feet. But I don't know if you realize you could look at that debate and see when Trump went from being a little scared to saying, "Oh man, I got this." You actually saw the switch in Trump, and that is because he really had it, because Biden never was able, that Biden told most of that truth stuff about economy, etc., but he never had that punch to give Donald Trump when it was most appropriate. Hey, Ray, I got other callers and I got to get to. I appreciate you. We're going to talk a lot about this on the 3:00 show as well. So for all of, I'll meet you there as well, my brother. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and get to Brian. And Brian called in. This is the same Brian. Brian called into the show right at 9:30 something when we had it last night. Brian, how are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing fine, but I'm not doing fine. And I know you're going to rub it in a bit, but how's it going?
No, I'm not. I actually, again, I'm going to repeat. I felt sorry for Biden. That was a terrible performance. And what a lot of people didn't see at the very end of his debate is Trump walked off the stage, behind stage, completely unassisted. His wife actually had to hold his hand, this is Biden, and walk him down the 1 foot steps. There was 2 steps. He actually had to be assisted by his wife, Jill, to walk over to the commentators in the CNN booth. That was really, really sad. I hate to say that.
I saw that, but I think that was, let me tell you, Brian, look, the guy is old. The guy walks funny. The guy's mind is fine. And unfortunately, a lot of what you see can be spun that way, but I didn't see it that way at all. And I did see all of that. So we looked at it completely different. And again, like I said, for what this guy has done, I still have faith in him, but with the narrative being the way the Republicans are going to point out, narrative confirmed, as I mentioned in the blog, that is going to be a problem that we have to take seriously. But anyway, Brian, look, I want to thank you for calling in last night. I want to thank you for actually being kind this morning after what we saw last night. So you give us a call on Monday. We'll talk. All right.
All right. Y'all have a good weekend. Bye.
You too, brother. Peace. Let's go to Richard. Come on in, Richard.
Yes. Hello. Thank you for taking my call. And like some of the other previous callers, I watched the debate. And at the end of the debate, I didn't see what the previous caller said as far as feeling bad for Biden. Biden's he's an older gentleman. And so his wife is going to come up and greet him and walk off the stage with him. I don't see anything wrong with that. And his mind is strong. But the reverse is that when you see Trump walk off, his wife is not even there. And the narrative of Trump, the people who should know him the best, the people who were in his cabinet, the people that are around him, they want nothing to do with him. And that includes his wife. So when you have a person who talks and lies about everything and then stands up there and lies unrepentant, and I understand people say when you throw truth at a lie, it should change it. But when some people, it doesn't. He takes from the old school to Barnum Bailey. And what that is you never tell the truth. You say whatever you have to say to get your point across. That's what he believes in. And so,
Richard, let me ask you a question. I need to ask you a question, Richard, and I don't know the answer. But you are a very smart person, and we have a lot of smart people listening. And they can discern what you just said. But what about a large percentage of Americans who cannot and will not?
Well, I think just to simplify it, I mean, it is what one of your previous callers said. It is a battle of good versus evil in this case. I mean, we are at a part, and I believe in God. So as you get closer to the end times, there are going to be times when we have to make decisions about what we want to do as a country, as a people, and truth is important. You cannot teach your children that it's okay to say whatever comes into your head and then think it's going to bear good fruit. You can't do that. And so when you have a person who is I hate to say it, a sexual abuser of women, a liar, a cheat, a tax cheat, a criminal, a convicted felon, pending charges all over, but he wants to have the highest office in the land, you can't help but say to yourself, something is wrong. We have changed as a country if we think that is okay. I remember when that party was a party of family values. And what happened? It's no longer important. And then you have billionaires running around here now talking about that, you know what, we're going to support him because when Project 2025 comes in, we're going to actually get no taxes. We're going to change it where crazy. We have tariffs.
Patrick, we got to go, but look, we're at a hard stop. Thank you so kindly, Patrick, for your wise words. Look, folks, We'll keep talking about this. We'll see what happens. This has been a real interesting subject. We've had over 1,800 people this morning, this early on Twitter and other folks right now. Folks, we got to run to the studio real quick. Guys?
Nothing from me. Listening to you talk this morning.
So many lies. Folks. Only 90 minutes.
All right, folks. Anyway, folks, thank you so kindly for listening. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter for the rest of the show. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. You know how I end this baby. We are out. The question is, how long is America those who support Donald Trump going to allow not only Donald Trump to fool them, but for the folks who know who Donald Trump is to also fool them just for the sake of implicit power, a power they're not yet sure that they have, but a power that they want to be there in case it is realized. Senator J.D. Vance, Republican of Ohio, Governor Doug Burgum, Republican of North Dakota, Marco Rubio, Republican of Florida. These are guys that purportedly, as of today, are in strong contention to be Donald Trump's VP candidate. The problem is that these guys had or wanted nothing to do with Donald Trump, because in the case of Rubio, he always knew Donald Trump was a con man, not to speak about what he said about many times, little Marco, etc. Then there is Doug Burgum. Doug is a businessman, and he likes to have a phrase where he says things like, you lie with dogs, you rise with fleas. He didn't quite say it that way. You'll hear what he had to say. And then, of course, there's J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance said it in no uncertain terms. So look, folks, listen to this. I want you to hear just a snippet of what these three candidates or these three politicians thought about Donald Trump. Then we'll take it on the other side.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
Would you ever do business with Donald Trump?
I don't think so.
Why?
I just think that it's important that you're judged by the company you keep.
There is no way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist.
So now, folks, these guys in the days when honesty meant something to them, they were bona fide, honest conservatives. And what they did is they said exactly what they felt about Donald Trump. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.